Okay, so once you've decided on your sources of finance, you're going to have to, or even before maybe you decide on your sources of finance, you're going to have to think about what your business wants to achieve and how it's going to achieve that. And basically, this comes into making a business plan. So we need to know what a business plan is. We need to know why businesses create them and what's included in a business plan. And we need to know the benefits of creating a business plan. Why do businesses go through all of this hassle and trouble of doing this? And we also need to know the drawbacks to businesses of creating business plans and whether they are actually essential for all businesses. So what is it? Well, it's a formal document and it sets out the business's aims, so what they want to achieve and how they are going to achieve it in very short, summarized version. So what information would be in a business plan? So they'd probably have an overview of the idea. So usually you're creating a business plan before you've set up the business, usually, but you can have business plans for businesses that have been established. They'd usually be called strategy documents. But you'd have an overview of the idea, details of your projected sales figures or sales figures that you've already achieved. Usually you're creating a business plan because you're trying to encourage someone to invest into your business, or you're trying to put the case forward for somebody to lend you money for your business. So how much money you actually need and what you are going to use that money for, marketing details, so how you're going to advertise your product, what the product's going to be like, the kind of product specifications, pricing, where you're going to sell your product, how you're going to actually manufacture it, so the operations details, so all the costs involved in it, and also your HR, your human resources, who's going to be involved in your business, what are they going to be doing, what skills do they have. So why do businesses create them? Usually because they want to secure external finance. So the first thing that we could say is you wouldn't necessarily create this unless you were trying to get money invested into your business. So if you're a small business that doesn't really require that, then it's less likely that you'd actually have a business plan. Also, though, there's an internal reason why businesses create them, and it's so that they can track their performance against them. So they might set out a business plan in terms of, right, this is our 5-year plan, what do we want to achieve? And then each 6 months they look at it and say, well, are we on the right track? How are we doing? You probably already know a lot about business plans because you've probably seen The Dragon's Den, and there was a nice Dragon's Den episode with Loved a Popcorn, a few kind of young guys that set up a popcorn company, but any group or person that goes onto the Dragon's Den, basically they are presenting a verbal business plan. So that is everything that would be included in a business plan. They usually go through an overview of what the product is, they go through the finances, they go through the marketing, what they're going to use the money for, so on and so on and so on. But I'd suggest that you watch maybe a few snippets of the Dragon's Den just to give you a good overview of what a business plan is. So why do we go to all this trouble of creating them? Because they will take quite a while to create, and it will be quite difficult for a business to put them together if they're just starting out. So one of the good points about it is it really forces the entrepreneur to think carefully about every aspect of the startup. So what are they going to achieve? How are they going to do it? Is it realistic? What type of figures do they expect to make? So before setting up a business, you want to know, how much are you going to be able to sell the product for? How much is it going to cost you? What are the margins you're going to get? How many do you need to be able to sell to make a certain amount of money? All of those types of things. Second point down, obviously the external finance is very important. If you've watched the sources of finance presentation, there's a lot of information there about bank loans or kind of selling shares or getting partners or introducing investors into your business. And finance is really, really important for most businesses. Most people don't have all the money they need to be able to set up the business they want. It can also, because you're thinking very carefully about the whole process, it can also help identify any problems, any gaps in your plan. It's also, it should have a bit of a timeline on there, or what they call a kind of roadmap. So what's going to be achieved by when. And so it should provide a logical strategy for the business. And you can also use it as a benchmark, so something to measure yourself against. So as I said before, every 6 months you look back to your business plan and see, have we achieved this goal, have we not achieved this goal? Okay, disadvantages of the business plan. Just because somebody forecasts sales a certain amount doesn't mean that that is going to make it happen. If you watch a few Dragon's Den episodes, you'll know that some people forecast ridiculous sales, or they forecast that people are going to spend ridiculous amounts of money on something that's really not worth it. So just saying that something's going to happen doesn't make it happen. Often they can be a little bit too optimistic. Often, when we looked at what entrepreneurs are, the types of characteristics, they're usually very single-minded, they have a can-do attitude. That can sometimes make them a little bit too optimistic, and a little bit, overly optimistic about the outcomes in terms of sale and how much people are going to pay for a product, I suppose. This one's an interesting point. Usually the question in the exam is discuss whether a business plan can guarantee success. Nothing can guarantee success, absolutely nothing. There are always external factors that can affect businesses. So there's no one thing that can guarantee success. A business plan can help you become maybe more successful or less likely to fail, because it's helping you logically think through the processes and think about every aspect of the business, but no one thing can guarantee success. It can also be really time consuming, so you've got to think about what is the real aim of this business plan. If you are, for example, a window cleaner and you don't need external finance, you've set up your business yourself, then do you really need to make a business plan? You've got all this information contained in your head. Maybe the business isn't that complicated to run, and making a business plan would be an inefficient use of time. And this is the second point as well, leading on to that. Some small businesses, if you don't need external finance, why do you need it? So quite a straightforward section there, but it's a lovely question when it comes up. Make sure that you know the advantages and the disadvantages, because it usually is an evaluative question when it comes up.